I'm Aishlyn, and welcome to the first bonus video from Collection Cutdown. I said originally that I might do some bonus videos of movies that I haven't seen yet, particularly from my own collection, and there are 3 shelves up here crammed with movies that I have bought, usually quite cheaply, but haven't had a chance to see yet. Today, it's going to be one of them, American Tigers. According to the cover, starring Cynthia Rothrock. In reality, not so much, but I'll get into that. I wasn't originally planning to review this movie. I just picked it to watch from my shelves, and it turned out to be quite crap, so I decided that I would talk about it today on the channel. So let's get into it. So American Tigers is from 1996. It's compared to The Dirty Dozen and The A-Team on the cover. So essentially the idea is that a group of men from a military prison are tasked with going on a suicide mission, and before they do that they need a bunch of training from this commando guy, and then, you know, some stuff happens and the mission goes off and so on and so forth. Yeah. Whew. This movie. So, as I mentioned, the cover kind of implies that Cynthia Rothrock is in it, and she was the main draw for me. I really like, you know, female leads in action movies, as I've hinted at before. Unfortunately, it's really, despite her prominent feature on the cover and on the blurb in the back, she's really only in it for a couple of minutes as a cameo, bizarrely as herself. So when these guys are getting training to go on their suicide mission, the commander guy calls in his old friend Cynthia Rothrock to train them. And so I guess the implication there is actress Cynthia Rothrock spent the 90s training military commandos in her free time. So that was quite bizarre. I wouldn't really have blinked much if she'd been playing a character. It still wouldn't have made a huge amount of sense, but I would have gone with it. But the fact that she was playing herself seemed just very strange. Unfortunately, there's kind of a lot of that sort of thing that goes on in this movie, so things kind of come in and out in a way that is not cohesive or coherent to the story. So, for example, there's a scene early on, like many of these movies of this period, that the scene is randomly set in a strip club for no other reason than that it just wanted to show nude women, and just goes on forever. And so we meet, like, the commando guy's old friend there and his ex-wife who works there, and I don't understand the point of that, because they don't show up again until right at the very end. So that's all just more things that maybe they were trying to pad the runtime or something, or they were pretending it was gonna add emotional depth to this character and to the movie itself. But the thing is that nobody in this film is likable. So you've got a bunch of criminals, and so my memory from the A-Team is that they're falsely accused, right? But in this, they're genuine criminals, and they're due to face the firing squad for what they've done. And I don't know if in 1996 they still had a military firing squad, but whatever. These guys are rapists and murderers. Like, one dude stabbed his girlfriend 42 times, and, like, am I meant to feel sympathy for these guys? Like, that's really not at all. And the commander himself, who's running this team is racist. Like, the amount of racial slurs he slings off throughout this movie is nuts. So I don't know who I'm meant to be rooting for here. They're all assholes. Except Cynthia Rothrock, who, best part of the movie, no surprise. But yeah, so it was just a very strange choice that, you know, these guys are just so irredeemable, and these are meant to be the heroes of the film. Like, either make them wrongly accused, or, you know, have them do crimes that are forgivable, like a Robin Hood type situation. You know, there's ways of going about this that would work much better and wouldn't make me hate everybody. So yeah, that was a very strange choice, and it was made even stranger that at the end, after they've completed the suicide mission, some of them survived, and then they get full pardons and reinstated to the military and get to go on about their lives as if they haven't, like, killed people for no reason. I mean, I know the military kills people, but there's usually, like, reasons for it. It's not like, you know, they set fire to somebody's house and killed somebody's wife, and, you know, or there was no logic to that. Like, it didn't make me root for that outcome. Like, I was genuinely hoping this was going to be a suicide mission for all of them. Like, they were all just going to die. Sadly, some survived, and so I guess the writers wanted them to be redeemed, but just no. Like, you can't redeem a murderer by making them do more murder. Like, so this was, the reason they chose criminals to do this was because it was meant to be like an underground black ops type mission that the military could disavow. So, like, unsanctioned killing, very similar to murder. Yeah, so I don't get where the movie was going with that, and it just didn't work in a lot of ways. The other thing I wanted to say is that for an action movie, the action was very poorly done, so usually that's the redeemable feature in stuff like this, particularly low budget. You get a lot of, like, you know, talented people at least doing their thing, but the only scene that really happens again is when Cynthia Rothrock shows up for a couple of minutes. Just strange choices all around. One thing I did find quite funny is that the name of their squad is Tiger Squad American Tigers. So there's a double tiger situation happening there, and it made it such a mouthful. I got a chuckle out of that, I guess. But yeah, overall, it wasn't even so bad. It's good. Like, this was just genuinely quite unwatchable. Like, even the music sounded like rip-off Muzak versions of, like, the Mission Impossible theme and things like that. Like, it was, everything about this was low rent, and, like, there was nothing interesting in the direction. The script was really bad. The acting was, yeah, not great. The one thing I will say is that the guy who played the villain, I have no idea who it is, because I couldn't get people's names because I wasn't paying enough attention to look it up on IMDb. But the guy playing the villain, he did his best. I'm not going to say he was good, but he at least, you know, put in a lot of effort into getting some energy happening in the character. Like, it was all very silly, his role. So they essentially just kept cutting away to this random dude who I guess was the ultimate villain in the end. And yeah, so he's the kind of guy who just shot his minions for making small mistakes and stuff, just to show how evil he really is and all that. But at least the actor looked like he was trying to have fun with it, whereas everybody else took themselves terribly seriously. For example, there's this interlude where it doesn't make much sense, like most of this movie, but our heroes have to, for some reason, do like a boxing competition, fight competition of some kind with this other commando squad, like a real one. And the actual commando squad is meant to be the villains in this scenario. So what happens is that they're competing for the right to go on this mission, and so much about this is weird. So for starters, the whole reason that these prisoners, again, murderers, rapists, arsonists, whole reason they were chosen is because the military wanted to distance themselves from this operation so they could just pretend it never happened if it all went wrong. But then towards the end of the movie, they're just like, oh, we don't need you guys anymore, we've got some real commandos to do it instead. And it's like, well, if that was an option originally, why not just go with that? Why bother training all these psychopaths to do this for you? Like, that made zero sense and came out of nowhere. And then, so the way they resolve the issue is even weirder, that they set these guys to compete against each other in a ring and sort of fight until they're unconscious. Whichever team had the most wins was the guys who got to go on the mission. It's like, is that really how the military resolves their disputes? Seems very unlikely. Overall, nothing really of value to see in this movie. I wouldn't recommend it. Even as a Cynthia Rothrock fan, she's not in it enough to justify it. And the fact that her cameo is so strange. I mean, I guess if you really want to torture yourself, go for it. But yeah, ultimately, this one is a no from me and is definitely going on my giveaway pile. But it did give me the opportunity to do a bonus video for all of you, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and happy watching.